And so this panel basically asks or demands, what does regeneration demand? Now comes the harder part. What does it actually look like in practice? So we've heard actually about the practice from David just now, but the answer is not a best practice you can copy-paste necessarily, as we've heard. It looks different every time, every different destination, every place, every specific communities. And so we're going to hear from 3 different lenses of the same challenge. And we'll start with a film first.
คือเรื่องการอนุรักษ์เราอนุรักษ์มาตั้งแต่รุ่นบรรพบุรุษครับเพราะว่ามันเป็นเหมือนกับซุปเปอร์มาร์เก็ตของชาวบ้านพวกกุ้งหอยปูปลาคือสามารถเจอในป่าชายเลนได้ทั้งหมดเลย
ป่าชายเลนเปรียบเสมือนเขาเรียกลงมาปัดน้ำเสียนี่คือความสำคัญเปรียบเสมือนลักษณะของตัวสะพานตัวคำว่าเชื่อมโยงระบบนิเวศก็สำคัญ
คือการอนุรักษ์ไม่ใช่ว่าไม่ให้ใช้ประโยชน์เลยแต่คือให้ใช้ยังไงให้ยั่งยืนเพื่อจะได้ใช้ถึงรุ่นลูกรุ่นหลานต่อไปในอนาคต
เนื่องจากป่าชายเลนชุมชนที่อยู่โดยรอบก็จะเกิดอาชีพหลากหลายมากนะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นคนขับเรือและคนตกปูคืออาชีพมันมีหลากหลายมากถ้าเราเข้าใจทรัพยากรแล้วเราก็จัดการได้
ว่าถ้ามีป่าที่สมบูรณ์ก็จะมีนักท่องเที่ยวที่มาชมมาเที่ยวตามวิถีธรรมชาติมากขึ้น
You really feel how the people live and you get to know the people who live in this country and who makes this country special
แล้วก็บรรยากาศของน้ำทะเลที่ข้างนอกมันเขียวใสแล้วก็หมู่เกาะที่ยังเป็นธรรมชาติอยู่คือเมื่อได้ขับเรือไปเจอก็อยากจะแชร์ประสบการณ์จากที่เราได้ไปเจอแล้วสวย
I really enjoyed getting into the handicrafts and to be able to do it myself
เวลามีแขกมาพักที่โฮมสเตย์สนุกและก็ทำให้บ้านคลึกครื้นขึ้นเหมือนกับมีเพื่อนมีญาติมาเยี่ยมเราจะไม่คิดว่าเป็นนักท่องเที่ยวมาคือทุกคนในครอบครัวต้อนรับด้วยใจจริงๆครับ
เป็นคนแถวนี้โตที่นี่ใช้ประโยชน์พึ่งพิงทรัพยากรป่าชายเลนมาตั้งเล็กจนถึงปัจจุบันมันของพวกนี้บางทีมันไม่สามารถที่จะบอกว่าคนนี้ต้องทำหรือยังไงก็ตามแต่พวกนี้มันจะเกิดจากแรงบันดาลใจที่เขาเกิดความหวงแหนเกิดความว่ามันสำคัญเขาถึงจะทำได้
มีอะไรก็ช่วยเหลือกันอย่างเช่นมีการจัดงานที่มัสยิดคนก็จะมาช่วยเหลือกันทางบ้านโดยไม่ต้องมีค่าจ้างค่าอะไรแค่เลี้ยงอาหารเขาคนที่มาเที่ยวอยากได้ไปเจอไปเห็นเหมือนกับที่เราเห็นคืออยากจะให้สัมผัสธรรมชาติที่ยังดิบอยู่ไม่ได้มีการปรุงแต่งอะไรมากมายจะได้สัมผัสธรรมชาติจริงๆครับ
So this first film sets the stage a little bit because it speaks to the theme of place making and the specificity of a location, which then informs that regenerative model we've been discussing in the practices selected for the destinations. And perhaps it asks a question without asking it directly: what happens when people work with a place rather than impose solutions upon it? Our first speaker has been working on exactly that topic, that question, for many years. She is the CEO CEO of Iceland Tourism Cluster, and she will discuss exactly that. Let's welcome Asta Kristín Sigurjónsdóttir to the stage. Welcome, Asta. It's not your first time at ITB, and we're really quite excited to hear what you have to say about regenerative by design after this introduction we've just had now. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And I know you have been practicing my last name, Sigurjónsdóttir. It was, yes, really, really good. So great to be here with you. I know this must be like really tough last minutes we are having here together. And I want to invite you a little bit to come into a helicopter with me. I know that's not sustainable and I know that's not regenerative, but we are just going to do it in our minds because we need to kind of look at the states a little bit from above. And it's a good practice also to play a little bit in that sense. And super inspiring to listen to the panel that we had here before, because I think we are adding constantly into that as we go on. But there is this phrase that keeps coming to me, and after several really deep and really nourishing conversations that I have been having here for the last days with people from all over the world, I feel like we are a little bit stuck in this, or I come back to this again and again, that ignorance is a bliss. Because sometimes it would be easier to know less. And easier to believe that growth automatically means progress. Easier to believe that adding more flights, more campaigns, more volume is enough. But once you begin to understand how systems actually work, how destinations function as living ecosystems, you can't unsee it. And once you see it, you can't go back to designing blindly in that sense. Regeneration is not a checklist. It starts with mindset. It becomes real through intentional design, and only then do practices make sense. So, we talked about this a little bit in the panel before, and this actually comes from agriculture. And this, like how we are talking about this now, I mean, this is not scientifically proven, but this is something that the agriculture has been working on, and I really connect to this regenerative development we are trying to build in. And if it's 50% is the mindset, 40% is design, and 10% is practice, and yet we are trying to scale the 10%. Labels, AI pilots, innovation projects, certification schemes, without scaling the real understanding that needs to be there. And that is the real risk, because growth without design is not progress in that sense. It's accelerating and acceleration without maybe a clear direction in that. And tourism is a complex adaptive system. For decades, we have treated destinations like they are machines. Add marketing, get growth. Add flights, get volume. Add infrastructure, get scale. But tourism is not complicated, it's complex. And we understand complexity individually also. And just look at this from your own body, kind of. None of us would treat our own body like it is a machine. We try it sometimes. You don't fix exhaustion by demanding more output of yourself, and you don't build resilience through constant pressure. A healthy body depends on balance, recovery, adaptation, and interconnection. And so does communities and destinations. Living systems don't respond to control, they respond to conditions. And this is also a quote that I really love from my friend Diane Dretz, that has been really putting out tough thoughts. And she is writing and she is teaching and doing a lot of great stuff in this field of regenerative development and design. And this is maybe the biggest question here. And if we are misdiagnosing complexity, we design fragile systems in that sense. And here comes my favorite picture, and I know my Icelandic friends in here maybe laugh at me, but that's okay. This is our cluster map of tourism, and actually this is the ecosystem of tourism. And this is how we operate within the Icelandic tourism cluster. And we have, for several years now, for the last decade, looked at tourism not as an industry, but as an ecosystem. It's connected by finance, energy, food systems, municipalities, infrastructure, culture, health, and education. Everything is connected, and we are building bridges between these different stakeholders. And if the system is unhealthy, in a way, no single business can be regenerative. So the real question is not, how does my business grow? The real question is, how does the ecosystem that we depend on stay healthy and grow? And how do I thrive within that, with my business? So now I want to get you on board with me in answering a few questions, and so we can make this a little bit interactive. So now we will get up this Slido, and you just take a picture, you know, this thrill. Take a picture of this QR code, and we are here. I'm asking you to prioritize maybe like 3 main pillars in what primarily shapes your business success today. Fire away. Okay, beautiful. We are so limited in time, so if you're not quick enough, you will miss this. So this is amazing. Partnership and networks is winning this, leading this really strongly. The health of the destination ecosystem, this fills my heart. And market demand, of course. I mean, we are talking about businesses. We want the businesses to also financially success. And internal strategy. Okay, great. So let's continue. And I also wanted to bring one of my great friends also from this topic. His name is Daniel Bistrom, and he is among the first designers that started to talk about destination design and talk about it from like the heart of the place, not only like from the business side, but also what is within. And at that time, we didn't have this word regenerative development for it. It was just the way we wanted to bring this forward. And also we need to maybe understand how tourism is kind of like a wicked problem, because there is no final solution. We are always going back to the drawing table in a way. There's a constant change, conflicting stakeholder interest, different interest within different stakeholders, which means regeneration is actually not a sustainability department, it is a design discipline. Design is intentional system architecture. It is how incentives align, how value flows, how destinations are made. And actually clusters can become design spaces, because within the cluster, we have this environment that businesses can rethink collaboration together. They can sit together at the same table, different ways of businesses and so on. And that is where regeneration becomes practical. And regeneration, like we talked about just earlier, cannot, in my opinion, be copied. What works in one place may fail in another. And that is not a weakness, that is intelligence also, because living systems are context specific. Growth without design is not a process, and the next decade will not belong to the destinations that grow the fastest. It will belong to those that redesign intelligently. And now I also want to bring you in for a super short, because I see my time is like tuk tuk. So let's get another involvement from you. and you will do it like super quickly. Where does regenerative change need to start in your context? And this is also prioritization by 3 top pillars. Okay, and we shall wrap it up. Mindset is winning this by far. Community relationships, of course, and governance, business models. This is all important, but we also need to prioritize a little bit. Okay, so let's keep going here. So, in the next 5 to 10 years, I want you to think, what will define a competitive destination? Will it be price? Will it be scale? Will it be volume? A lot of people? Or will it be intelligence, quality, resilience, ecosystem health, adaptive capacity? And once we understand how systems actually function, there is no way to unsee it. And once we see it, our responsibility changes. Regeneration becomes less about doing more and more about designing better. And now I need to land this beautiful helicopter that we went up to and step out into a beautiful place in a community that we can all just picture for ourselves, because we all have some beautiful place in our head. And I have been speaking here from the level of the business ecosystem and the system design, but regeneration always becomes real somewhere. In places, with people, in landscapes and in communities. And that is exactly where Elka works, translating regenerative thinking into lived reality. And I'm so proud to share this stage with you, my friend. And now you will take it away.
Thank you so much, Asta. It has been a pleasure to sit in your helicopter. Hi to everyone here. My name is Elke. It's a short name. And I have a short introduction. Just as Asta, I prepared 2 questions. The only difference is you do not need to answer them, because these questions are not the right questions. What's your favorite place? And tell me why I should come and visit you. We use them a lot in tourism, but they're actually part of the problem. These are like bucket list questions for bucket list destinations. And the answers that you will get to these questions are so generic. And generic, ladies and gentlemen, is a kiss of death. Generic is the opposite of regenerative. Generic leads us to the sea of sameness. And the sea of sameness means that everybody is doing the same thing for the same people. And think about tourism. Think about how everybody is following the same tourism trends. And I think it's a paradox. You know, by trying to become different, destinations have become less unique, less interesting, and even less vulnerable. And I think it becomes even worse if we keep operating in our own little bubble. And to be honest, it feels sometimes here a little bit like a bubble when you're walking in the hall, if I can say so. But then look at this picture, because you can easily also get out of the bubble. And that is my question to you. I don't have a helicopter, but I can ask you to step out of the bubble and get into this place and feel the grass, you know, even smell it, taste it if you want, but get to know this place, get to know the people, the woman who lives here, because she can tell you what the future of this place better be. She can tell you what she wants to see protected and what she wants to see grow in that specific place. And I think this is where tourism can come in. I think it all starts with place, but please let's not pre-purpose a place for tourism. Let's not call it a destination, but let's ask, what's needed? What is this place? What is the place potential? And then let's see how visitors can really contribute to this. Now, thank you so much, Willy, for asking me to give a few examples of places that use this more place-specific, place-appropriate design. And I'm going to tell you already now, no place is perfect. I don't have those perfect examples yet, of course, except for Playa Viva, but that's a business. I'm talking about places here. I'm going to talk about Juan de Fuca in Canada, about Helsinki, yes, a city even, and about Hawaii. I'm going to start with this place here. It's actually a strait between the US and Canada. So it's the south of Vancouver Island and the north of the USA. But Destination Canada asked us to enhance a cross-border well-being for this place and to safeguard the ecosystem. Now, we loved this assignment. It was brilliant. The circumstances were not so brilliant because at that moment, Trump just launched his tariffs for Canada. And Trump actually did not like the corridor idea. He preferred to have an annexation of Canada. So that was the thing. That was our space to work in. Now, actually, we didn't stop at all. We thought, this is a political situation. This is what's happening. But then we dived in deeply into this place, and we discovered that it's actually not a place of two nations, US and Canada. It's actually a place of many more nations. The First Nations, there's 6 indigenous communities living across the strait. There's even family ties there. And I shouldn't say this, but they take the canoe to cross the border. But there's also a salmon nation. I don't know if you've ever heard of a salmon nation, but there's a group of people who protects the salmon because it is super important for the ecosystem there. Second observation, this is not 2 nations, Canada and US. It's actually one and the same bioregion. And I learned this concept from Anna, the bioregional idea. So it actually means that this place has the same ecology, it has the same animal life, it has the same watershed system and all the things that you know makes a place, a real place. So you need to sometimes forget about the administrative borders and dive into this bioregional idea. So for us it was really so much fun to create a new plan for this area with new investment opportunities. Of course, you know, it needed to be green and blue economy, electrified ferries to connect those people from both sides of the strait. But it also opened up new investment opportunities. Bioregional funding opens the door to things that we don't know because we depend on government grants, and this is something completely else. It's about a cause. It's about a shareholdership where you buy a share and you only get your profit back after 25 years because that's the time it takes to achieve something in a place. I can talk forever, but I need to go to Helsinki. Helsinki asked us to research their identity. And what makes a place unique is not a landmark. It's not the Eiffel Tower or Disneyland. What makes a place unique, it's a combination of all these elements. It's a blueprint of all these elements in a specific place. And so when you dive into this semantics and you get to know all the assets, the attributes of a place, which are many, many, you can also break them down at a certain point up to 4 we found for Helsinki. This is what makes Helsinki, Helsinki. And I need to tell you this because the visitors can sometimes help you to see the things that residents don't see themselves anymore. So people who live in Helsinki know about the orange things. We are a city close to nature. But it was really the visitors who could help them see, hey, but you have such an equal society here. The social sustainability, it is present here. And also in meetings, I always got asked for my opinion. I don't have that in Belgium, to be honest. And also on the design or the architecture, visitors told us, hey, I can cross the road even blindly because it's so well designed here. It's so safe here. And these are all things that we found out about Helsinki that they took for granted somehow. So place identity, understanding the fullness of the place, is for me the foundation to build a visitor economy that matches your place, that matches your identity. Last but not least, we worked, I think already for 4 years in Hawaii. We're now making a strategy for the next 5 years for Hawaii. We do that together with Better Destinations, our US partner. And if there's a strong sense of place on Earth, I think it's there. They have this spiritual idea that if you serve the land, then the land will take care of you. And they call it Malama Aina. Now, HTA, the Hawaiian Tourism Authority, has built experiences around the strong Malama Aina feeling. So you can go to a farm, grow native vegetables, cook them, eat them. You know all these examples, they have many. And I think it's brilliant. It's like the community tourism, it's like the ecotourism, but I would also like to say something else, because what are we talking about here with the Malama experiences? We are talking about regenerative approaches, if I can call them like that. They are building up towards a new future, but they're really in the left bottom corner. We are only limited with those regenerative experiences today. With community tourism, with ecotourism. It's good, but it's just not enough. And I wrote a book about this transition in tourism, and I would like to stress that we also need to look at the dominant tourism today. Because if we work in Hawaii, we cannot only work around these Malama experiences. We need to look at, the mass tourism that they are depending on today. Their lives depend on this majority of mass tourism. So what we've done, and it was not the most sexiest project probably, but we looked at their governance. So what I think we need to also understand is that we cannot only design the new things, we also need to redesign the old things. And that's more difficult, to be honest. But we did it for Hawaii. We did a governance study. You can find it online on our website. It's published. And it's really about shifting an organization of the state that was working very much top-down, trying to manage the tourism flows on all the islands. And we tried to shift it to work more bottom-up, with the people, the communities living on the islands, experiencing the pressure from the visitors, especially after the wildfires there, and then voicing their needs and their dreams back to the state. You can find all these recommendations in the report. They're now at the legislator's office, and yeah, it's different in every place, but it's super important to also think about redesigning funding models, redesigning governance studies, and to really start doing it, and then together we can build that future. Now, my time is up, so I'm going to leave you with 2 things. One is I'm going to ask you the right question, and you can ask every tourism professional to ask the right question about place, and that is, don't ask what a place can do for you, but ask what you, as a tourism professional, can do for a place. And secondly, because our time is so limited, we are organizing a conference specifically on place, because we think it's so important. Anna will be there, and everyone is welcome to later on. Thank you so much.
ITB Berlin.
Technical problems. Thanks so much. So what Asta has brought us, and from Iceland, and Elke brought us from her own work at places, is that both point out to the same direction, really, I think, is regeneration is designed, not declared, and it starts with listening, not necessarily planning. The person that has been filming the first film we saw, and he filmed stories around the world, and who opened this session with the first film, he's the founder and chief strategist at GLP Films. His name is Rob Holmes, and I'd like to welcome him to the stage, please. Rob? Yeah. Rob, you open. I'm just going to kick in. Sorry, first of all, I'm going to welcome you. Thanks so much for joining us. I know you brought a few slides, and then you brought also a little treat for us as well. And so we're looking forward to this. Take it away, and I'll stay around you.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
To ask a few questions, maybe.
I'll let you stick
Go
around.
ahead. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for sticking around on the last day of ITB. And I'm really going to pull together some of the elements that both Asta and Elke talked about here today when looking at mindset, design, and practice. But really, it comes down to the simple point. Storytelling, the importance of content, how transformational it can be in changing mindsets, changing perspectives, changing viewpoints. We all know when you see a story, a good story, it really can change your view on something almost immediately. You're emotionally connected to it. It'll make you think differently. And that's the power and the work that we're doing with destinations and really seeing things different, seeing tourism differently. And I'm just going to go through here just a couple of the points. But this changing mindset is such a fundamental part to really changing the narrative. As both Asta and Elke said, tourism has to change to more of a regenerative approach. And one of the ways this really can happen is by really embracing stories, short, long, video, photos, text. It doesn't have to just be videos and films. It can come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. And some of the things that we're pushing, some of the points you see up here, diversity, accessibility, inclusion, conservation. Let's look at tourism differently, and let's do that through really great stories that will show an awesome experience for the traveler, but also change the narrative. And that's really the point that I'm trying to make here today, just on the role that storytelling and stories can play. And you saw this example in the very beginning of Bantalay Nak in southern Thailand. That was an immersive experience. We came in, honestly, the work we're doing with destinations has shifted so much from marketing now. It's about education. It's about capacity building for travelers, yes, but also for the trade, for the industry, and locals. Having locals so fundamental, seeing the benefits of tourism. It's really amazing to see how many destinations struggle with their stakeholders and local communities not seeing the value of tourism. And so again, that's where storytelling, just that experience with Bang Hem and his community and how wonderful and beautiful it is. And the little treat I'm going to share here, I'll let Isabel tell her story, but it's really about an outsider coming into a region, but she had a purpose. She was conscious. She was respectful. She was pushing a big boulder up the hill, you'll see, but ultimately that acceptance and having for herself sustainable, yes, but more regenerative approach in looking ahead. So let's look at the volcano lady and hear Isabel's story.
Yeah, so just a quick question about, I'm just curious because the first film you presented in Thailand, that was post-tsunami, and this whole regenerative of the village. Was there something that the community did teach you that you did not expect when you spent the time there?
It showed how tourism really impacts people on a local level. It was powerful, just spending 4 days eating, sleeping, hanging out, everything. Everything we did was with the local people and seeing how tourism can have a direct impact on their daily lives every single day.
Wonderful, thanks so much. So let's check out that treat, that second film, and the film is The Volcano Lady of Chile, please.
Pedir permiso para entrar en tu bosque, para que los ñem de este lugar nos protejan, nos muestren la belleza, la diversidad, la riqueza de este lugar. Con esa actitud vamos a entrar a este bosque. Llegar aquí 30 años atrás fue un desafío muy grande, sobre todo hacerme cargo de una empresa muy alejada, siendo mujer, ¿no? Es mucho más frecuente en esa época que la gente que estuviera detrás de estas iniciativas fueran hombres y acostumbrados además a emplear hombres en el trabajo. Les costaba un mundo que una mujer fuera la jefa, ¿no? La que mandaba. Eso me costó un mundo que me consideraran también del lugar. Yo era como una extranjera, ¿no? Eso fue cambiando en la medida que me fui integrando y insertando en el mundo local, haciéndome amistades y además viendo con evidencias de que tenía una preocupación y una manera de estar en el lugar de mucha conciencia y responsabilidad. Para nosotros es muy importante que la persona que llegue se vaya de una manera diferente luego de estar acá y de vivir en contacto con el lugar y con las personas y con la historia del lugar. Se puede observar y se puede experimentar el cambio, cómo llegan sus caras y cómo se van. Aquí ser sostenible en este espacio es, por una parte, es una obligación, ¿verdad? Y desde el inicio ha sido así porque estamos en un lugar remoto, adentro de un parque nacional, pero al mismo tiempo no es suficiente. Vale decir, yo siento que la sustentabilidad en este lugar nos quedó chica. Necesitamos la regeneración, necesitamos garantizar que la gente no encuentre el lugar tal cual, sino que ojalá lo encuentre mejor.
Thank you very much, Rob. Excellent material. Why don't we bring Asta and Elke back on stage and we'll have a quick discussion. Let's welcome Asta and Elke back on stage, please. Thank you. I almost feel like asking you, Asta, if there's one thing that Iceland got, so Iceland's got one thing that the others should steal from, what is it?
Our weather sometimes. It could be nice. No.
The weather. You've seen what Berlin has on offer these days.
No, actually I think the way we have managed to collaborate in Iceland tourism, like not only the cluster but in the whole system, that has been something that, I mean, we're a small country, of course, and maybe easier for us than for others, but seeing here all this like delegation from Iceland, everyone is working as one person, kind of, because, I mean, no chain is stronger than the weakest, kind of.
Weakest link.
Yeah. So that is something, like collaborate through and pass the ecosystem and between different stakeholders are essential. And you can steal that. You can steal our cluster map and ecosystem.
That's right, the mapping.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Elke, I feel like asking you, I've taken a note. You've said generic is the opposite of regeneration. Oof, this is so strong because so many destinations have become very generic. We find the same brands in a downtown. It's extremely boring in many ways. So what is the thing that most tourism developers do to a place before they actually even understood it? What's happening? What's wrong with us with this?
Well, they shouldn't do nothing, you know, like that was the point. But I think they're just looking too much on the return on investments. Like they work also for the economy, as they always say. So they think about what it brings, you know, what it brings to them, to their own business, often global businesses. So they're not really enough involved with the place, I think.
That Juan de Fuca, I mean, that speaks a lot to me. This is a bit of a private thing, but actually I spent a lot of time on Vancouver Island because I was working throughout the 1990s, and my sister-in-law comes from Haida Gwaii. I don't know if you had a chance to go all the islands up, and she actually is part from the First Nations. I have spent time with the leadership of the Haida nation. It's absolutely fantastic when we talk about indigenous knowledge for regeneration. Gosh, do we have a lot to learn in some ways about traditional ways. And it's kind of interesting because when I spoke to the people on Haida Gwaii, some of the young researchers they said that in fact Western science is only catching up to the knowledge that we've had for centuries. And we often see the other way, right? We often see Western knowledge as being the cutting edge of all form of knowledge. But they said in certain fields, whether it's the salmon coming back up, etc., certain fields, there is knowledge that they've been on this island for 10,000 years. Yeah. They have accumulated knowledge that only now Western science is trying to prove, more or less.
Certainly, and for climate change especially, I think we are struggling with it, and they know much more about climate adaptation. We need to learn from them. I totally agree.
Yeah. Rob, you've filmed those. It's always fascinating, the films that you provide. You film those involving tourism happening around the world. What's the one thing that keeps surprising you? I mean, because you've done so much, what's one thing that keeps surprising you about tourism and about those stories that you film?
Well, I would say just the impact that tourism can have. I kind of mentioned it when you asked about that community. People always say the good, the bad, the ugly. I would say, really seeing the positive, how in that Thailand community, in Bantale Nuk, how tourism is really huge conservation effort, cultural preservation, and helping the local economy. All wonderful aspects. But I think it's also important, not just the trade and people at home watching this, but also the traveler, to have them understand some of the challenges that we're all talking about of tourism. So I think both the positive and the challenging, I won't say negative or the ugly, but I'll say just the challenges, things that we have to overcome collectively as a group, as an industry, and also as travelers.
Thank you so much. Asta, you've had this long journey on regeneration. And we often ask the industry, the sector, the system to actually do something. Do this, do that. But what is it that we should tell them to stop doing, actually?
Tough one. I think maybe, because I was talking about it earlier, that we are treating tourism in a way like it's a machine, or like it's just like an industry that is in a program or boxed in. But I think that we need to start and stop treating destinations like it's a product. And I really agree with Alka in the way, like, we need to ask the residents and the communities, what do you want from tourism? Or what do you want in general, and how can we use tourism to solve maybe some of that, and not the other way around, because we are always getting tourism maybe, and in some cases in our faces, in the communities and with the local people. So I think we should use tourism more as a tool to solve all kind of challenges and the negative side sometimes, because tourism is such a powerful tool if we are using it ourselves for the better good. Greater good.
Thank you so much, and that links me a little bit to the next question. So when I go on holidays, I usually cycle. I cycle my way into not cities, but little villages. Those villages often haven't made themselves pretty for the tourists. There isn't something big for the tourists, it's just for the local people. This is often where I find I have the best experiences, the most authentic, because they haven't dressed up for the tourist. So there's something that I think is kind of interesting. This is my personal story, but what does a place looks like for you when tourism has actually worked for it? When a destination, I know you said there isn't the perfect destinations, etc., but what would it look like for you if you say, this is a destination where tourism works?
You cycled in Flanders, didn't you?
I did cycle. Well, I cycled through Belgium a lot, but actually this was Eastern Europe. And
I think it goes for the local communities. I think, what you see in a place where tourism works with the place and not just in the place, it's a place that doesn't feel consumed. Like you said, it's not a product. It's not that people are coming in, entering, and it's just like a decorum, a thing that you use to enjoy yourself. It is that you feel recognized, and every aspect in that place feels recognized, feels seen, talked to, because what do you enjoy when you are in these local communities? It's to meet with people who ask you questions, and then you can tell your story. So it's about, those relationships, I think, that you will see if you work with place.
Yeah, often it's been like that. I mean, I just don't want to go back on my bike trip. It's not about me, but if you ask me, what has been quite special is, in fact, to be able to have a beer with the hotelier in his garden and chit-chat for the whole evening about the history of his village. So it's been pretty amazing. I have to say, these are, you never forget, because this experience isn't tailored, it isn't priced, it's just very, very sort of organic in many ways. Rob, I'm sort of curious as well, throughout everybody that you filmed, who is the person you filmed who changed the way you think about tourism, or who's the person you think has changed you?
Well, I'll stick with this theme I have. Bang Hem, who you saw in that film on Thailand, honestly. We had been with them for 4 days. Like I said, we immersed ourselves. We're part of the family. Packing up our van at the end, he was standing there with his son, We had been playing soccer with them. You know, we almost became part of the family, which is kind of crazy in 4 days. But when we left, he didn't say anything. He didn't really speak much English, but his body movement, his relationship with his son, I mean, I shed tears in the van leaving just because it was so powerful, because you really saw from a personal experience how tourism was so important, how us coming in and telling their story, his family story. I mean, we covered his entire family in that film. And you just see the beauty and how important tourism is, but also kind of a, don't forget about us, come back and visit, you know? So just that was one person that really made me see, if you give someone the time and breath to hear their story and spend time, quality, sit down, don't rush, you really see how wonderful and beautiful tourism can be.
Thank you so much to the three of you for spending the time with us and explaining a little bit what you're doing. Absolutely fantastic. Please give a hand to Asta, Elke, Rob. Thanks very much.